Hey guys, thanks for stopping by and welcome back to my YouTube channel Czechoslovak Gun Stories. My name is Kuba and this is the second episode of my short series on the Czechoslovak VZ61 Skorpion. In the previous episode, we've discussed some, let's say, basic information about the VZ61 Skorpion. We answered some questions that were probably sometimes unanswered or answered incorrectly all over the YouTube. And in today's episode we're gonna have a look at the different versions of VZ61 Skorpion because, as you probably know, there are much more than just the original VZ61. One thing I would like to mention is this book. This book is the source of information for the whole series. It's actually a very good, very well written book by a Czech author, Jiří Fencel. And it actually covers the history of not only the VZ61 but also the other versions of the submachine gun. So thanks to this book I'm able to make this video happen. Before we start with the other versions of the VZ61, I just wanted to mention that the VZ61 was actually produced in 4 waves. The first wave was between 1963 and 1966. Then the production was ceased because both the army and the police received the requested amount of VZ61 Skorpions, and they were not at that time meant widely for export. So the production was stopped, only to be renewed between 1973 and 76. And then the same situation happened, and it was renewed then again in 1978 and once again stopped in 1979. And last time when it was renewed was between 1992 and 1993. And during these 4 waves, 100,000 of these VZ61s were made. I would like to also mention that the VZ61 was not only produced in the former Czechoslovakia, but between 1980 and 1984, 30,000 of VZ61s were produced for the purpose of export to former Yugoslavia. And along with the 30,000 pieces, they also sent a license to Yugoslavia. So if you are holding a VZ61 in your hands, it may not be only coming from the Czechoslovakia, but it can also be produced in the factory Crvena Zastava in now Serbia, former Yugoslavia. That's the Kragujevac factory that's known also for the AK variants and other Zastava rifles that you know already, I'm sure. Anyway, let's have a look at the different versions of the VZ61. So the first version we'll be talking about is so-called VZ64. That was a version in 9mm Browning. This version was quite similar to the ordinary Skorpion, except it doesn't have these relief cuts on the lower. That's because the magazine was thicker for 9mm Browning. Also, VZ64 has a very simple compensator. There is 6 lines of holes that are drilled into the end of the muzzle that should serve as a muzzle brake sort of. But other than that, the VZ64 is pretty similar to the VZ61. One interesting thing about the VZ64, however, was its magazine. With the 9mm Browning, it was not curved, but it was perpendicular to the firearm. However, there was a very interesting patented solution from Mr. Rybář, and that was that the last coil of the spring in the magazine was going above the follower in the magazine, and that's because it actually put pressure on the second line of the rounds, or second stack of the rounds in the magazine that were not under the spring tension. You probably noticed, if you have a fully loaded magazine, in case of some firearms, if you just shake the magazine, you can hear the rounds sort of moving inside the magazine. The patented solution Mr. Rybář made was for the purpose of special forces. If they were moving quietly with some machine gun, well, you don't want any noises, you know. So it was actually a way how to make it even quieter, because as we know already, one part of the design of the VZ61, original VZ61 Skorpion, was a silencer. So this gun was meant to be used by special forces, agents of the police and so on. So it was a patented solution for that. Then we have another version, VZ65, and that was made in 9mm Makarov. This version differed a little more significantly than the VZ64 from the original VZ61. And the most notable difference was in case of the bolt. The bolt was now in its rear part hollow, and there was an insert inside which should actually force the catch of the rate reducing device to catch the bolt when it was moving backwards. The reason for that was that with 9mm Makarov and with the similar mass of the bolt, it was moving much faster. It was very hard for the rate reducer device to catch the bolt reliably. So they put this little extra mass into the bolt that was moving, and when the bolt hit the rear position, rear trunnion, then this additional weight hit the hook and forced it downwards, so it caught the bolt. Also, there was a rubber ring inside the pistol grip, so when the rate reducer was traveling backwards, this rubber insert helped to sort of soften the impact of the rate reducer, because obviously 9mm Makarov had a little more energy than the original VZ61's 7.65 Browning. Here you can see a table that compares the basic technical data of VZ61, VZ64 and VZ65. So you can notice the differences in rate of fire and in some basic dimensions. And now let's move to the most advanced design of the series. And that's VZ68, sometimes also known as ZB68. It was the last design of Miroslav Rybář, the original designer of the VZ61, and it was intended to be used with a 9mm Luger cartridge. It was the only one of the series that was meant solely for the export, because 9mm Luger was not used by any Warsaw Pact country. The VZ68 differs significantly in all the overall dimensions. The bolt is much heavier, the whole frame is thicker, the magazine is bigger, the barrel is slightly longer. Everything is like beefed up for the 9mm cartridge. The only thing that remains the same is the pistol grip. The very interesting solution in case of ZB68 is the bolt insert that is floating inside the whole part of the bolt. We mentioned already with VZ65, but in case of VZ68, this extra mass is not free floating, but it is under a spring tension, and it serves three different purposes. Purpose number one is similarly to the VZ65, that it actually, when the bolt hits the rear trunnion, it sort of forces the hook to catch the bolt and reduce the rate of fire. That's the most important feature of the solution. However, it also serves as an extra mass that helps to reduce the rate of fire by itself, since it is under spring tension. So it is stationary when the gun starts cycling, and then the bolt has to hit it and will force it to move backwards. So that sort of reduces the rate of fire on its own. And then the third reason for using this solution is it also helps to prevent the bolt from bouncing back when moving back to the closed position. So that's a pretty simple and ingenious solution for the submachine gun in the 9mm cartridge, because obviously with a 9mm you have much more recoil, much more energy, and the bolt will be traveling much faster. Now, as for a bolt itself, in case of VZ68, the bolt is much heavier. The original VZ61 bolt weighs only 230 grams, whereas the ZB68 or VZ68 bolt weighs 460 grams. It's twice that much, and the gun is also significantly bigger. And similarly to VZ64, there is also an improvement to the magazine. Because of the shape of the 9mm cartridge, it was necessary to redo the whole magazine, which is square, it's not curved, as you can see in the picture. However, there was also a special follower constructed and patented for the submachine gun or for its magazine. And this follower is alternately pushing each stack of the rounds based on which one is under the spring tension and which one would be just rattling in a magazine. And this helps feeding the 9mm cartridges properly into the chamber, and it also helps to avoid the rounds rattling in the magazine, just like in case of VZ64. So that's actually a very ingenious solution. We can have a look at the picture. Now let's have a look at the technical data of the VZ68 and compare it to VZ61, so that you can see how much larger and heavier the VZ68 was compared to VZ61. As I mentioned in my previous video, unfortunately Miroslav Rybaš died in 1970, shortly after finishing the VZ68. So the VZ82 was actually not his own creation, but it was designed by another very famous Czech designer, Jiří Čermák. VZ82, compared to its predecessors, differed in much more ways than, let's say, the VZ64, VZ65. So let's have a look at it. The first difference was that the intention was to use the same cartridge as the VZ82 pistol that was at the time being introduced in the service of the Czechoslovak armed forces used. That was the VZ82 cartridge. VZ82 cartridge is a similar cartridge to 9mm Makarov. It's actually interchangeable, but only in one way. The bullet was not like an ordinary full metal jacket with a lead core, but it was an all steel bullet. It was made from a compressed steel powder, which means that you should never shoot the VZ82 rounds or VZ82 cartridge. If you ever come by the VZ82 cartridge, don't use it in your Makarovs or P64s or P83, because you will ruin the barrel of your gun. It's only meant to be shot from the VZ82 pistol. The reason for that is that both VZ82 pistol and the VZ82 iteration of the Skorpion both have the polygonal rifling of the barrel. That was done with the barrel lifespan in mind, because the all-steel bullet would definitely destroy the rifling very fast, the ordinary rifling, I mean. So that's the reason why they used the polygonal rifling in VZ82 iteration of Skorpion. The other change of the VZ82 was that the two knobs, which sometimes can be pretty hard to use, were replaced by more pronounced charging handle, which was only on one side and was reversible. So it depended up to you if you wanted to use it on a left or right side. However, it made it a little more complicated to put it into the holster, because obviously with more pronounced handle it was not as anti-snag as these are. Also, the whole trigger system was simplified, and in case of VZ82 submachine gun, it only contained 6 parts, whereas the original VZ61 Skorpion is actually containing 9 parts of the trigger system. So that was a simplification made by Jiří Čermák. The last, but the most important change on the VZ82 was the stock. This is not the original VZ82 stock, but I kept it on the firearm so that you can see the reason why Mr. Čermák improved the stock. Because with the original length of the stock, your eye is very close to the sights, and it's not really a comfortable comfortable grip for your ride. So the stock on VZ82 is made as a telescopic stock, similarly to the stock I created for my VZ61. And this stock allows you to make it like 60 millimeters longer, which then helps you to get a proper side picture, and it's also much more comfortable for the use. So that was probably the most important tweak of the VZ82 submachine gun. Unfortunately, the VZ82 never really made it to the serial production, so we once again only have a couple of prototypes lying somewhere in the museum, and that's it. So we can have a look at the technical data of the VZ82 compared to VZ61. So as you can see, there are some differences in the size and the rate of fire and so on. However, the VZ82 was not the last of the family of VZ61. However, we will end here because the VZ82 was the last that was made in the former Czechoslovakia. For the more modern 1990s and early 2000s iteration of VZ61, we'll discuss in another video. So you should subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss it, right? Oh, you already know that. So guys, that's it for the other versions of the VZ61 Skorpion. I hope you enjoyed the video, hope you learned something new maybe. Please subscribe to my channel because there's gonna be a part 3 and 4 of the video. We'll discuss some of the shortcomings of the VZ61 design, and we'll also have a look at the shooting of the VZ61, and as I also promised, we'll have a look at the more modern iterations of VZ61 from early 1990s and from the early 2000s. So subscribe to my channel, like the video. If you have anything you would like to share with me, use the comment section, and until next time.